of 1789 is it established 13 district courts, one in each state. Now, if you went to district court and wanted to appeal your decision, you would appeal that to a circuit court. So they had to establish circuit courts. Now they're going to have 13 circuit courts the next step? No, they're going to have fewer. Anybody want to guess how many they had? A little less than that, less than 3. They had 3 circuit courts. So if you didn't get the job done in the district court, or you appealed, you could appeal to the circuit court, and they established 3 of those in various, geographically equal areas among the colonies, right? One in the north, one in the south, one in the middle. Okay? Yeah.
Can you spell it?
Circuit?
Yeah.
That's okay. CIRCUIT. Now, what else do you need to cap that off, Jordan? You got a district court, you got a circuit court, now you need we still have it today, one of them, a big time court. What's a big time? Supreme Court. They established one Supreme Court. So the federal court system, by virtue of the Judiciary Act of 1789, established 13 district courts, one in each state, 3 circuit courts, spread evenly across the country, one in the north, one in the south, one in the middle, and 1 Supreme Court. Now, anybody know how many people make up the Supreme Court? How many justices? A little bit high. Might be at this time, a little high. 6. 1 Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, 1 boss, right? And 5 justices. So that's what they established. Okay, they established the first Supreme Court, 1 Chief Justice, and 5 Associate Justices. Sandra, my dear, I want you to look on your green sheet and tell me who the first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court was. John Jay. John Jay was the first Supreme Court Chief Justice in the United States. John Jay. So, have we solved our first problem to a point? Have we created federal laws? We're still going to do that. But what did we create by virtue of the Judiciary Act of 1789? A court system that allows us now to establish laws, and get law enforcement officers, and places to put the people that are guilty. Okay? So that's how they handle the judicial problems. What's the next problem they had, Ray? No, the next problem. We're past jail. You said it before. And I said you're 1 too soon. I said, what kind of problems? You said financial problems. So here's how they're going to deal with repaying the government debt, which is your next subtopic. Congress deals with repaying the government debt. This is going to be a big problem because we owe a lot of money. A lot of money from the Revolutionary War. Can you run a country broke? Can you run a country with no money? If Megan loans me $10 because I need it bad, and even if Megan tells me I don't have to pay her back, is it better if I pay her back? Do I have more integrity if I pay her back? You should always pay back a debt. And so we'll talk about that in a minute. But the United States of America had tremendous debt after the Revolutionary War. They got to pay it back. What one man's going to solve that problem for them? We're trying to anyway. Who's the one man? No, George Washington hired an advisor to help him with matters of finances. Who did he appoint as his Secretary of the Treasury? What's her up? Alexander Hamilton. Right. So, the man that Washington's going to look to solve these financial problems is the Secretary of the Treasury, Alexander Hamilton. And it'll be his job to devise some sort of a program that's going to put the nation's financing on sound footing. Sound footing. Okay? Now, as I mentioned with Megan, Hamilton knew that a nation, just like an individual, had to pay its debts or you'd lose the trust of your neighbors. If Megan lends me $10 and I don't pay her back, do you think she's going to tell Sidney, boy, I wouldn't lend that Mr. Dirty money, he never pays you back. And then Sidney's going to tell Brody, and Sidney's going to tell Haley, don't loan any money to Mr. Durr because he won't pay it back, and then Haley's, you know how it's going to go. So Hamilton said, you know what, Can anybody force us to pay back these debts? No. But if we don't pay them back, no one will ever trust us or lend us money again. Okay? Now, the United States owed $80 million after the Revolutionary War. That was a staggering amount of money for that time. 80 million. I'm going to guess, I have a calculator and I'll figure that out for tomorrow. I have an inflation calculator, but I'm going to guess that's going to be probably 50 billion now. Maybe. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But a lot of money they owe. $80 million in 1789. Now there were three types of debt we had. Three different types of people we owed. Okay? So if I said, Mr. Townsend, that we had foreign debt, part of that 80 million was foreign debt, what would that be? Who would we owe money to if it was foreign debt? Other people that lived where? Well, it could be outside. Foreign debt is outside your country. So Great Britain had enemies, did they not? The French, the Spanish. Do you think those people lent the the American colonies money to beat their enemies? They did. So we owed money to foreign countries. Foreign debt. We also had domestic debt. We also had domestic debt. So Ollie, what's domestic debt? Yeah, you owed money to people in the American colonies, now the United States of America. And we also had state debt. What does that mean? State debt. What states? We don't know. Well, close. So we owed money to foreign countries who lent us money to finance the war. We owed money to people, domestic debt, to people, individuals in the country. And then even some states loaned money for the war. Specific states that had a lot of money. Maybe Massachusetts had a lot of money and they lent the federal government money. Are they expected to pay that back? So they were doing really well. They were a colony that ruled themselves, that did very well financially. So we owe those people money as well. Now I'm going to tell you exactly, and then we're going to quit for the day, how much we owed each of those entities, okay? And what Secretary Hamilton proposed so we could repay those people. Okay, so let's talk about this 80 million, and we'll talk about foreign debt first. You're going to need to know this. Foreign debt. Of the $80 million that we owed, 12 million was owed to foreign countries. Okay, 12 million of the $80 million we owed was owed to foreign countries. The three countries that lent us money during the time of need, during the Revolutionary War, they were enemies of Great Britain, were France, as somebody mentioned, Spain, and the Netherlands. Okay? So the three foreign countries that the United States of America owed $12 million to were France, the Netherlands, and Spain. How did Hamilton propose to pay those people back? Mr. Padilla? How about it? How are you going to pay those countries back? If you don't have any money, how are you going to pay them back? He's the answer.
You sell stuff to them, or give them.
Well, that's not a bad guess, but we really didn't have anything to give them at the present time. So how did we settle up with France, the Netherlands, and Spain? What did we say we would do? No, that's a good guess. If they want money, show me the money. How did we say we would pay you? Just like you did. Go. So Padilla, you got any money?
No.
I mean, do you have $5,000 on you in your home? In the bank. Okay. So you want a new car. Not a new car, but you want a car because you want to get after it, right? You want to get some driving done. So you're going to go down to Gil McKendry at Pinnacle Bank and say, you know what, Gil, I need this $5,000 car. And he's going to say, you know what, I like you, Padilla. Okay, I'm going to lend you that money like they lend us money for war debt. And how's that going to work? How are you going to repay that debt that he gave you, that $5,000? Just hang on. You ever went? What? Well, Mike, we're talking about that. So did not the Netherlands, Spain, and France loan us that money, right? So how are we going to pay him back? How are you going to pay Gil McKendry back for that $5,000 he lent you for that car? Well, well, if you could give him the money, if you could give him the money, why wouldn't you just go buy the dang car? You don't have any money. He gave you $5 grand. So if you just give it right back to him, you ain't got no car, right? So so you took the $5,000 and you bought the car, right? How are you going to pay him back that $5,000? I mean, what's the deal? You work, right? Yeah, you're getting there. You work, and then you pay him how? In payments, right? Same thing. So how do we pay the foreign debt to France, the Netherlands, and Spain? We promise to pay them back over a fixed period of time with what? Interest, just like a bank loan. Okay? So that's how we did that. So his solution to pay those people off is he arranged with all three countries, hey, we're going to get our feet on the ground and we will pay you over a fixed period of time the money we owe you with interest. So they made payments, right? Okay, so that was 12 million. This was kind of interesting. We'll talk about domestic debt. And that debt was $44 million. And that was to individual Americans who lent money. So if this was the American colonies, when I was in World of Hurt, I said to Logan Foote, man, Logan, I got to have me some money to win this war. What do you give me? Well, I'll give you $1 million. Okay? And then Andrew gave me 500,000. Then Hernandez gave me, 250,000. So pretty soon, I owe all you guys, the United States of America, owes each one of you money. $44 million worth of money was borrowed from individual Americans during the course of the Revolutionary War. Now, it was borrowed in a weird way. The Continental Congress borrowed the money from citizens. How'd they do that? And they still do, well, I don't do it so much today, but they did it a lot in World War II, in 1944, 45. What did they sell the American people to borrow money from? You got to be old like Mrs. Montoya and I to know this. What they? War bonds. Very good.
Yes.
You can still buy savings bonds today, but these were war bonds. In other words, I would go to Colt and I'd say, Colt, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you buy this war bond for $100, when the war's over, I'll give you $100 back plus 50 more. That's like interest. So what happened is during the Revolutionary War, Congress sold these war bonds to all of these individual citizens in the United States with the promise that once this thing was over, we will pay you back with interest. Now, you all bought these $100 war bonds, okay? Every one of you bought one. Okay, let's just make it worthwhile. You all bought $1 million war bonds, okay? Now, the only way you're getting paid back is if what, Mr. Ariza? The only way you're getting paid back is if America does what in the Revolutionary War? Yeah, if they lose, you're not getting anything, right? They got anything. Okay, so the war's going on. We didn't talk about that. We start later. And there were times in the Revolutionary War where things weren't doing very well, right? Now, Mr. Luna, you bought this bond for $1 million. And you're thinking, oh, Jesus, we're getting our butts kicked here. I don't know if we're going to win. What might you do if Hanford's interested with your bond? Because you don't want to lose $1 million. Because something's better than nothing. So you get edgy, sell it. And you sell it to Hanford for $500,000 because your philosophy is what? What is your philosophy? What is your philosophy here, Mr. Screw Around? What's your philosophy today? Okay, you got a bond worth $1 million and you're getting nervous, so you sell it to Hanford for $500,000. Why would you do that? So you don't lose all your money, right? So there were certain people like Hanford, we call them speculators, who were very eager to take a chance and buy all these people's war bonds that wanted to sell them at a loss because they were afraid we're going to lose the war. Does that make sense? So people sold those with the idea to at least get some of their money back. Now, when we talked about this war bond business and paying back, do you think that Congress thought we ought to pay back these speculators? We're not paying those buggers. They took advantage of people. They bought, now they're going to get rich here because we won the war and they bought these bonds for $500,000 and they're worth, now we got to pay them $1 million for the thing. So a lot of members of Congress said, you know what we're not going to do on this $44 million? We're not paying these speculators. that bought these bonds up and took advantage of people. Does that make sense to you at all? Well, even though that was probably right, Hamilton believed firmly that if we're going to clear our conscience on debt, we got to pay it all off. So even though they didn't believe they should, didn't matter who held the bonds, they paid them. Now, how did they pay those people back? How'd they pay them back? What do you think? They said they would pay them back as well over a fixed period of time with interest. Okay? So they dealt with foreign countries that way, and they dealt with domestic loans that way. Those are individuals. Where it's going to get a little bit hairy is state debts, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. Okay? State debts, how they're going to pay back states. And we're going to see a really big deal made to settle this problem. So, are you doing okay? Is everybody all right? You got any notes, Padilla? All right, some good drawings there. Sydney, how you